So I'm Jaden. I'm a junior at Lewis and Clark High School and a member of Sunrise, and I'm going to be one of your MCs for today.
And I'm Rosie. I'm a junior at Ferris High School and also a member of Sunrise. And I will also be one of your MCs for today. And yeah, we are so glad that all of you are here with us celebrating Earth Day. Earth Day Live is a national event that will be continuing until April 24th with a live stream at the national level and local live streams every day. Here in Spokane, this is the first day of Earth Day Live, and today's live stream will be hosted by Sunrise Spokane. Tomorrow's local live stream will be hosted by Fossil Free Gonzaga, and it will be focused around divestment. And Friday's local live stream will be hosted by 350 Spokane, along with the League of Women Voters, and it will be focused around voting. And yeah, that is generally what Earth Day Live is. We wanted to do Earth Day Live because, we can't physically strike today. So this is a great replacement for that.
Yeah, so we wanted to start out by just welcoming everyone into this space. And we welcome people of all ages, whether you're in high school, maybe even middle school, whether you're in your teens, 20s, or older. We welcome people of all racial backgrounds. We welcome to people of all sexual orientations. We welcome people of all genders. We welcome people of all different faiths. We welcome people who feel uncertain and distressed during these difficult times. We welcome people who have suffered or have a loved one who has suffered from this virus, and those who are experiencing economic hardship due to this virus. We welcome all students who feel upset by this school year's sudden end. Welcome everyone of all backgrounds and current situations. We are so glad that you can be here with us today, and we are super excited for this live stream event. Although today we cannot physically strike, we can still come together to demand climate action and hear from the voices of the youth.
We also wanted to acknowledge and honor the land that we are on and the people before us who cared for it. We are in Spokane, Washington, and we are on the ancestral land of the Spokane tribe. The Spokane tribe cared for and respected this land and the Spokane River before their land was stolen from them. As a community, we recognize the ever-present systemic inequities that stem directly from past wrongdoings, and we commit ourselves indefinitely to respecting and reconciling this long history of injustice.
Before we get started officially, we would like to thank 350 Spokane, the group that has been instrumental in making this live stream happen. This event would not be possible without the generous donations to 350 Spokane from several people in our community. We thank Judy Fitzpatrick, David Hunt, Measurement, and Dr. William Lamont Warden for being dedicated to the mission of 350 Spokane to support, build, and organize an effective grassroots movement for bold climate action in the greater Spokane area, promoting a just transition to 100% fossil-free energy and a low-carbon economy that works for everyone.
So, as you all know, today is Earth Day, and today is actually the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. In 1970, U.S. Senator Gaylord Nelson founded Earth Day as an event to increase public awareness of the world's environmental problems. Millions of Americans, including students from thousands of colleges and universities, participated in rallies, marches, and educational programs across the country.
The first Earth Day increased environmental awareness in America, and in July of 1970, the Environmental Protection Agency was established by special executive order to regulate and enforce national pollution legislation. Earth Day also led to the passage of the Clean Water and Endangered Species Acts.
So while we have made great progress since the first Earth Day by taking measures to protect the environment, more must be done. Climate change is a crisis that will only get worse if nothing continues to be done. And if our don't act now, our generation is going to have to live with the devastating effects of climate change. It is also becoming increasingly clear that climate change affects low-income, often minority communities the most. So in order to achieve true climate justice, we must help those frontline communities who will be most affected by this issue.
Members of Sunrise Spokane and 350 Spokane have worked hard to organize today's live stream event, and although we wish we could be with you all physically today, marching and protesting in the streets, we are still super excited to be using this virtual platform to connect with all of you. Today, we have a wonderful program lined up, including videos from students, community members, and Spokane City Council members. After that, school board members Gerald Haynes and Nikki Lockwood will join us to hold a virtual town hall where we will have a live Q&A where you can ask them questions, so be sure to stay tuned till the end.
So to give some background on what the Sunrise Movement is, Sunrise is a movement to stop climate change and create millions of good jobs in the process. We are building an army of young people to make climate change an urgent priority across America, and the corrupting influence of fossil fuel executives on our politics, and elect leaders who stand up for the health and well-being of all people. We are ordinary young people who are scared about what the climate crisis means for the people and places we love. We are gathering in classrooms, living rooms, and worship halls across the country. Everyone has a role to play. Public opinion is already with us. If we unite by the millions, we can turn this into political power and reclaim our democracy. We are not looking to the right or left. We look forward, and together we will change this country and this world, sure as the sun rises each morning. Next, we will show a video of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and members of Sunrise calling for a Green New Deal and doing what they believe is necessary for action to be taken.
All the energy that's here in this room is the same energy that can beat big money and the same energy that can beat fossil fuel lobbyists. Thank you all, because you are giving us as a party the strength to push. What we can really do is give courage to those Democrats and to those Republicans, even to any elected official. Give courage to elected officials who may be watching. We want to let you know, and we want to let them know, that if they commit to a Green New Deal, we We will have their back. We will knock on their doors. We'll make sure they get reelected in every swing district in America.
While Sunrise has done incredible organizing work at the national level, our local Spokane hub has also organized some really incredible events in the past, such as September 20th Climate Strike and the December 6th Die-In. Here is an awesome video that shows some of Sunrise's past actions made by one of our Sunrise members, Maddie Coyle-Lowe. Please enjoy this video of our compiled past actions.
You can't drink oil. You can't drink fracked oil. And those are things that are running straight through my reservation.
The goal is to get the attention of leaders so policies can be put into place that slow down climate change. Younger generations say they're the ones who will deal with the consequences, and they want their voices heard now.
It's a very productive way to force our leaders into taking action.
I'm getting you ready to get the kick in the can and do something to the climate change.
More of us, young people, have to sacrifice our future before you declare a climate emergency and have real action. How many more, Governor Baker? How many more?
What lengths is North Dakota willing to go to defend a multi-billion-dollar oil corporation?
The nearly complete.
Now! Climate action now! Climate action now! If you love this country, you love the children. And if you love the children, we've got to stand up to the fossil fuel industry and save this planet from the ravages of climate change.
This climate crisis is no longer an abstract concern in a distant future. Every month without action deepens the severity and duration of the crisis. Local action can be taken to help stop the climate crisis. Sunrise Spokane and 350 Spokane are asking the school board to address this emergency in 3 specific ways. The first is to adopt a K-12 climate literacy curriculum. Young people need to understand the full complexity of the science behind climate change. How can we prepare young people for the future if they do not learn about one of the greatest problems of our age?
Our second demand is to transition to a 100% electric school bus fleet in Spokane. And each electric school bus not only avoids 54,000 pounds of heat-trapping pollution going into the atmosphere every single year, they're also better for student health. Repeated exposure to diesel exhaust is linked to high rates of lung cancer, asthma attacks, chronic bronchitis, and heart disease. Yet millions of students ride school buses powered by diesel fuel and stand in lines next to idling buses nearly every day for months.
And lastly, we ask the school board to commit to installing solar on all remodeled and new schools. The new school bond passed by Spokane citizens is an important opportunity to start building resilient schools equipped for the 21st century and its challenges. Every new or remodeled school should have rooftop solar panels to create clean energy and opportunities to learn firsthand how renewable energy works. We need dramatic climate action now. Our future is at stake. Lend your support to the call for real action by signing this school board petition to adopt a K-12 climate literacy program, a 100% electric school bus fleet in Spokane, and to install solar on all remodeled and new schools. Do you stand with us? You can add your name to the petition at the link that will be left in the chat. You should go sign it right now.
Yes, that is so true. We encourage every one of you to sign this petition to show that you urge the school board to enact our demands. And now we want to turn it over to the voices of the youth. So students from all over Spokane and members of Sunrise Spokane have sent in videos talking about why they are concerned about climate change and why they want action to be taken. Their voices and their messages are powerful and need to be heard by our leaders. Please enjoy this compiled video of student and Sunrise members in interviewing themselves on why they care about climate change.
Hi, I am Allie, and I am striking for climate change because Spokane is a very outdoor city, community, and me and my family are a part of that through running, biking, hiking, skiing, you name it. And I do have a lot of friends who are a part of that outdoor community as well, but do lack the education about the effects of climate change. And I do hope by educating and enlightening the youth, I guess, that I can be part of the future generation that does reverse the impacts of climate change, or at least has some contribution towards fighting it, so there can be outdoors for many future generations to come. Thank you.
I'm Chelsea, and I'm striking because we deserve a healthy, livable planet in the future and jobs where people can get paid to plant trees and restore lands like these trees will do soon.
And I'm currently a sophomore at Ferris High School. I support climate action. Hello, my name is Emma, and I'm currently a sophomore at Ferris High School. I support climate action because I think that it's important to talk about what is happening in our world, and our voices should be heard. I think that if we adopt a K-12 literacy curriculum, then more students would be able to take actions in order to help.
I support climate action is because that was something that my dad was very passionate about. Therefore, growing up, I was always learning about climate change. My dad was very active, very involved, always looking for the newest way to help improve and preserve our planet. And because he passed away due to cancer in June 2019, I believe that it is now my responsibility to carry out that passion for climate action as a way to kind of preserve his legacy.
My name is Gloria, and I'm supporting the Sunrise movement towards stopping climate change because the world needs us now more than ever before. And we have the tools and the power to stop climate change. We just need to take the steps. Sunrise is great because they have so many great leaders that are implementing different ways that we can help just our local communities, but also on a larger scale, like us as a nation. And I think that that's amazing. And we just need to keep pushing for a Green New Deal. And I think that we have a really bright future ahead of us.
My name is Maggie. I'm a member of Sunrise Spokane, and I'm striking because we need a Green New Deal, which includes Medicare for all, housing for all, healthy food for all, and restoring our ecosystems.
Hi, my name is Nora Henning, and I'm a freshman at North Central High School. I truly believe in these climate education-based demands with my whole heart, and not just because I help make them. I probably believe most in adopting a K-12 climate literacy curriculum because growing up in Spokane, all of my friends, all of the kids that I babysit, all the kids that I do my internship with, they all have grown up to believe that wildfires every day in the summer is normal. That smoke so bad that you can't go outside in the summer because it will physically impact your health is normal. But it's not normal. So adopting our K-12 climate literacy curriculum will educate our generation and all future generations on the impacts of climate change. That a wildfire isn't just a wildfire, that's a symptom of a larger problem. And that's what I hope to do by adapting our climate and education-based demands. Thank you.
Climate change is a crisis that demands our attention and our action. Our leaders must make this issue a priority and enact policies that puts the planet over profits. I believe the first step towards solving this crisis is climate education. As young people, we deserve to learn about climate change in schools. Just like science class or English class, climate education is important and necessary for our future. This issue is going to affect all of us, so why shouldn't schools teach about it? Why should the label of being too controversial stop us from learning critical information and the reality of the situation. I urge the Spokane School Board to adopt a climate curriculum into all K-12 schools in Spokane.
Support climate action because climate change is disrupting communities and affecting lives all over the world. It harms the poorest and most vulnerable communities the most, and without action, things will only get worse. Education is the first step in change. We need to adopt a K-12 climate literacy program in our school to educate students about the real and long-lasting effects of climate change.
My name is Nora Henning. I'm a freshman at North Central High School and the Actions Lead for Sunrise Spokane. I got involved with the climate movement through my family and the Sunrise movement through my older sister. I watched my sister plan numerous events for Sunrise, including the September 20th strike. When I went to that strike, I've never felt more inspired and empowered in my life. Seeing thousands of people from my own community come together and demand action was one of the most amazing things I've seen in my life. I knew I had to be a part of that movement. And from the second that I joined the Sunrise movement in my first meeting, you can tell that this isn't just a movement, it's a community of people. They've grown to be like family to me. You can tell that these people, they care so deeply about this earth, they're willing to fight for every living thing on it, to create a livable future for all people, is our Sunrise motto. So the first step in doing that in Spokane is to adapt our climate and education-based demands. Thank you.
Ms. Wesley Wilmore, and I'm a freshman at North Central High School. I believe in decisive climate action in Spokane because I believe everyone has a responsibility to this earth, and I don't want to see it die. Our generation has a chance to make a real change and teach the youth how to protect and treat our environment. Thank you.
The voices of the youth empower and inspire us to keep fighting for change. Now we'd like to play a video of youth climate activist Greta Thunberg's speech to world leaders at the UN Climate Action Summit.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe. The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you, but those numbers do not include tipping points, most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution, or the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Although we are rising up and making our voices heard, many of our politicians still dismiss the voices of young people, and this needs to change. This next video of kids talking to Senator Feinstein, urging her to support the Green New Deal, represents why our leaders must listen to young people when it comes to this issue.
We're gonna go in and share this letter, and we're gonna do it all together. Yeah. Share it in front of Feinstein. We're asking her to vote yes on the Green New Deal.
We are trying to ask you to vote yes on the Green New Deal.
Please.
Okay, I'll tell you what. We have our own Green New Deal.
Some scientists have said that we have 12 years to turn this around.
Well, it's not going to get turned around in 10 years. What we can do,
Senator, if this doesn't get turned around in 10 years, you're looking at the faces of the people who are going to be living with these consequences.
The government is supposed to be for the people and by the people and all for the people.
You know what's interesting about this group is I've been doing this for 30 years. I know what I'm doing. You come in here and you say it has to be my way or the highway. I don't respond to that. I've gotten elected. I just ran. I was elected by almost 1 million vote plurality. And I know what I'm doing. So, you know, maybe people should listen a little bit.
I hear what you're saying, but we're the people who voted you. You're supposed to listen to us. That's your job. I'm 16. I can't
You didn't vote for me.
Well, I'm voting for
It doesn't matter. We're the ones who's going to be impacted.
Something.
It doesn't matter. We're going to be the ones who are impacted.
I understand that. I have 7 grandchildren. I understand it very well.
Senator, the cost of
And-
not taking this action is far higher than the cost of what the Green New Deal will be. And there
Here's
is
what-
enormous popularity for this bill around the whole country.
Here's
And we're
what
asking you to
we
be
are
brave and
proposing.
do this for us and for your grandchildren.
Get enough for everyone. I'm trying to do the best I can, which was to write a responsible resolution.
Any plan that doesn't
has-
take bold,
Okay.
transformative action is not going to be what we need.
Well, you know better than I do.
Why don't
So
you
I think one day you should run for the Senate.
Great.
And then you do it your way.
But by that time,
In the meantime,
by that time, there's going to be a big problem.
I just won a big
you.
election.
Yeah, that was the
We are extremely thankful that in Spokane, we have leaders who listen to the voices of the youth and support us. Next, we will hear from Spokane City Council member Lori Kinnear and her thoughts on taking climate action.
Hi, I'm Spokane City Council member Lori Kinnear. I support taking action for our climate because passing along a healthy and habitable earth to the next generation and those who follow is an urgent moral imperative. The effects of climate change will hit the most vulnerable members of our local and global communities the hardest. According to the World Bank, 3 out of 4 people in developing countries live in rural areas. Most depend on agriculture for their livelihood, and many live in extreme poverty. For these communities, the effects of climate change, including changing precipitation and temperature patterns, changes in crop and livestock viability, new pests, pathogens, and weed problems will be particularly dire. Mitigating climate change and adequately adapting to its effects is fundamental to our ability to care, and we can make a difference locally by the choices we make every day. Fighting climate change is a moral issue, a social justice issue, and the defining cause of our time.
Thank you so much to Councilwoman Lori Kinnear. We appreciate all that you do for our city and your support for climate action. Next, we will hear from City Council President Brian Beggs and his thoughts towards this issue.
Hello, Spokane Sunrise Movement partners. This is City Council President Brian Beggs, speaking to you from City Council chambers. And I'm sorry I couldn't see you in person, but I just wanted to let you know how impressed I am with your work to date and how important it is. And a few things that I just wanted to talk about is knowledge is power. As people start to understand the implications of climate change and what we need to do to save ourselves, they will act accordingly. They will change their habits. They will change their understanding of the world, and we can get to where we need to be. So that starts with curriculum K through 12. So I strongly support making sure that people have climate literacy along with all the other types of literacy they learn in school. As people learn from really young grades onward, making that transition to a more sustainable future will not be that difficult. One thing that people have been talking about is 100% electric school buses. And that is a great thing to do, but it's really just a smaller part of a bigger picture as we electrify our entire transportation network in this city, in this county, in the state, and the nation, and the world. And City Council is working closely with Avista, which supplies our electricity, both to get to 100% renewable electricity by 2030, but also to electrify our transportation grid. The vast majority of greenhouse gases come from transportation. And if we have 100% renewable electricity and 100% electrified transportation network, we're going to be almost halfway to where we need to get. So I'm super excited for that. And then the last thing I really wanted to address is the opportunity. We have so many rooftops on schools, and as we remodel them and build new ones, which we're spending close to $1 billion over the next few years to do in this area, we can put solar rooftops on. And in fact, state law already requires that when schools are remodeled and built, that they have to be ready to get those solar panels on. But we have to go a step further in actually installing the panels. And there hasn't necessarily been a lot of money for that and political will. But City Council is working with Spokane schools, and we're welcoming other school districts, and Avista, and our libraries, and our public facilities district to try to put a consortium together where we can buy in bulk at much lower prices, where we can share expertise, and hopefully we can get some grants from the Department of Commerce from the state of Washington to have a true solar energy consortium on the acres and acres of available rooftops. Thanks so much for all your learning, all you're doing. Please be in touch. We are your partners in change.
Thank you so much to City Council President Brian Beggs. Again, we are so thankful for your work and support for climate action. Now we will hear from Morgan Shimabuku, a member of Mothers Out Front, a group of mothers, grandmothers, and other caregivers coming together to make climate change an issue that our leaders can no longer ignore.
Hi and happy Earth Day. My name is Morgan Shimabuku and I'm here in Spokane, Washington, supporting our youth in creating a safe and livable climate for the future and their future. There are 3 things that we can do here in Spokane right now to help create a safe and livable climate. First would be adopting a K-12 climate literacy curriculum. Second would be to commit to changing our school bus fleet to 100% electric. And third would be to put solar on all new and remodeled schools in our public school system. And finally, I am starting a group with with some moms here in Spokane. So if you're a mom or a parent and looking for other ways to engage on climate action that's focused on supporting the youth and creating a livable planet for your child and your children, then consider looking us up. We're the Inland Northwest chapter of Mothers Out Front, and we have a Facebook page. So thank you once again, and happy Earth Day.
Thank you so much to Morgan for your support and your advocacy. The world needs more people like you. Next, we'll hear from Mike Peterson, who is the Executive Director at the Lands Council. The Lands Council is a local group that works to preserve and revitalize inland Northwest forests, water, and wildlife through advocacy, education, effective action, and community engagement. Again, this is Mike Peterson, the Executive Director at the Lands Council.
Hello, Sunrise Movement. I'm Mike from the Lands Council here in Spokane. I want to thank you all for taking action as Earth Day 50 approaches. Demand clean energy, more curriculum on climate science for your schools, electrify buses, and go out and keep the carbon in the soil by creating biochar. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your words, Mike. Now we'd like to introduce two wonderful members of Spokane Public Schools Board of Directors. We are so grateful that School Board President Gerald Haynes and Director Nikki Lockwood can be here with us today for our virtual town hall. Starting with President Haynes, would you like to introduce yourself and talk about why you are here today?
Well, hey everybody, my name is Gerald Haynes. I'm the president of the Spokane Public Schools School Board of Directors. I'm here today, other than the fact that I was invited, but I'm here today because I am incredibly awed at the fact that so many of our youth and children in our schools today have taken on such an invested interest in climate change and sustainability for all of our futures, not only yours, but future generations, even past you all. And it's just amazing to see. And when you all reached out and invited me to be a part of this, I wouldn't miss it for the world. So thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much. Next, Director Lockwood, would you share why you decided to participate in this Earth Day event with us?
Sure, yeah, my name's Nikki Lockwood. I'm one of the new school board members, just elected in November. So I'm still in learning mode. But I wanted to be here because the reason I ran for school board is because I want to do what I can in my capacity to help more students reach their full potential. And so having a sustainable environment and listening to students are two things that are really important to me. And so I appreciate that you all were able to pull off this event from your respective houses. I'm in my kitchen right now. So I'm really glad to be here. I want to listen and share what I know, but also really listen to what the concerns of students in our community are. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much, Nikki. We're super excited to start our virtual town hall. If you would like to ask any questions or have any comments for the school board members, just type them into the Q&A. Remember to keep it appropriate and climate related. Before we take specific questions from the audience, our Sunrise group would like to ask a few questions about the 350 Spokane School Board petition. So starting with Director Lockwood, just the first request of the petition is about adopting a climate literacy curriculum, because we really believe that young people need to know about these issues to be able to be prepared to address them. So I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts about adopting a climate literacy curriculum for K through 12, and would you commit to doing that?
Let me share with you what I found out about our school district. And I think President Haynes can also help fill that in, but we have climate-related topics starting at kindergarten. And so in elementary, in middle school, and all through high school, we have climate-related curriculum already in our school district, curriculum that is open I mean, so it starts the conversation, and students can certainly take it to whatever degree they want to. We don't, you know, one thing I asked about is what if a teacher doesn't really believe in climate change or is a climate denier? And that's not really part of the curriculum, so they couldn't do that. And for the other thing that I learned from our curriculum specialists in teaching and learning is that climate change issues are changing so quickly that to adopt a specific, you know, curriculum that's not more broadly just introducing and discussing the topics at each grade level, or, you know, age appropriately, that we would, you know, that would be outdated pretty quickly. So the way we have it is those topics are within every grade, you know, within every elementary, middle, and high school level already as they stand. So that's where we are right now. I don't know if Jarrell Haynes wants to, or President Haynes wants to add to that, but I would say that I do think that it's really important that we do have climate literacy for our students. They're the future. They need to know what's going on, and I'm glad that we're starting those conversations in an age-appropriate way at kindergarten and all throughout the school level.
Yeah, President Haynes, do you have anything to add on to that?
Well, I echo all of Director Lockwood's comments, and one of the challenges that we've experienced, similar to what she said, was finding a way to keep up to date with all of the current, most recent, accurate information that's available. As you all know, our climate is continuing to change all the time. So with that updates, we need to be able to have a model that is updated and current and accurate, so that we're not spreading misinformation within our school system. So in terms of adopting a curriculum specifically, that's where that challenge exists. So currently in Spokane Public Schools, like we start talking about environment and climate and weather patterns and things like that as early as kindergarten level, right? Most of the people that are participating today are in high school. So I know more specifically in high school, starting in biology, right? Climate change should be addressed. That's not to say that it happens in every class or like it should, but climate change should be addressed. We have environmental chemistry. I don't know if anybody present has taken that class, whether environmental chemistry or AP environmental science. And climate change is addressed much more in depth at that level. And in just about all of our science classes, whether it be chemistry or physics, the opportunity for climate change to be addressed on a more deeper level is available to our teachers. And that some teachers take advantage of it, some teachers don't, may not, due to a various number of factors. I do believe that we could do better in terms of mandating it to happen, so that every student has the opportunity to learn on a more in-depth level about climate change. So yeah, I think that's something that we could definitely do better in, and I'm passionate about it, and I think I speak for Director Lockwood also, that she's passionate about it. So look forward to a lot of those conversations taking place at the school district level.
Yeah, I support that. Can I add one more thing?
Oh yeah.
Related to that, yeah, my daughter took the AP environmental science class as a junior, I believe, and that she really loved that class, and it encouraged her to pursue environmental policy. Now she's in her first year of college. I think she's broadened that out to just political science at this point, but there's still a chance. But I just say it was very impactful in kind of steering her in a direction. So there is that. There is some of that in our school district. Not everybody takes that class. So I do agree. If there's more that we could add or update to what we're teaching, I'm definitely supportive of that.
Right, because I think, like, even though there is like a curriculum in place, like you said, I think that, because personally from my experience, like I don't think I ever really learned about climate change in elementary school and even middle school, really. I think the first time in school that my teacher really talked about was like when I got to high school, I think.
Mhm.
And so is that because of teachers just like not wanting to teach it, or is it just not being mandated enough at, right now, currently?
One thing I wonder about is, since you were in grade school, have there been changes? I'm
There
not
have
sure.
been.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there might be updates. Like there's
Yeah.
changes since when I was in grade school. I know that. So that's one part of it. But I do hear the rest of yours. Like how much is it at the forefront of what we're teaching when we're talking about science?
And I would like to just bring in an audience question about this. Is Susie Henning asked that, or she said, Portland Public Schools has adopted and created a climate literacy curriculum, and that there are several models of curriculum to review and consider. And she asks, is Spokane Public Schools willing to commit today to reviewing the models available and working to adopt a curriculum of climate literacy?
So I'll take that one. We have already been reviewing and considering different climate change curriculums. This isn't new to us or any school district within the state of Washington, for that matter. We either get, as a district, we've been reached out to probably every 2 to 3 months by different groups or parents or even students being asked to review. And so far as I know, we haven't found one that we deemed as adequate for the students within our school system. So yes, we are committed to reviewing curriculums that could help solve this situation. And Rosie, to double back on what you were saying, yes, curriculum has changed drastically since your times at elementary school. I know it hasn't been that long, but in education years, it's been a little while. And I know as early as 6th grade in Earth and Space Science, climate change is discussed. And like I said, as early as kindergarten, weather conditions and storms are discussed. And just build upon that knowledge and that understanding. We just add on to it as the years progress. So things have definitely gotten better since your time in elementary school. Definitely better since Director Lockwood's time in elementary school. But so hopefully we keep building upon that progress, and we'll hopefully, I can't speak for the board or the district as a whole, but me as an individual, I am committed to pushing forward some climate literacy change for sure.
Oh, great. That's great to hear. We have one question from Nora. She says, yes, but AP Environmental Science is an elective. So shouldn't everybody be able to get that information, even if they don't have room for it in their schedule? Dr. Lockwood, would you like to?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, echoing what President Haynes said, I think we can do more, and we will continue to review curriculum, and I am certainly in favor of having more climate literacy in our schools. So I agree, it should be part of basic science that folks get. I mean, those conversations should start the first day of school, when we're all like breathing in the smoke from the fires that are still usually burning when school starts, and impacting, you know, school practice of sports outside. It's just been a regular occurrence the last few years, sadly. So, yep.
Yeah, and so then maybe back to President Haynes or whoever has an idea. Just so I guess just to sort of take a bigger picture of this topic. So we do see that obviously students maybe aren't seeing as much of this climate education as they would like. Like it may be briefly touched on in a class, but it's definitely not a focus of any particular classes or like those specific electives, but not something that all students are going to be exposed to. So I guess the question would be, what would you see as the next step to improve the situation in the schools?
I'll take this one. And just to double back on the last question, yes, environmental science is an elective, but biology isn't. And climate change is or at least should be discussed. in our biology classes at the high school level. But I see this as a big time first step, right? And the flexibility in curriculum allows for a lot more student-directed learning and discussions than what a lot of students know, right? So a lot of you all have a lot of more power within to take control of your learning within the school system than what you understand. And so some of the classes, science classes, whether it be chemistry, physics, biology, you name it, you all as a class and as students could start pushing those discussions both internally at that level and by having conversations with us as board members and administration within the school district to continue to push the message that this is something that you all not only are interested in, but you deem is necessary to complete the full picture of quality learning and education.
Okay, so going back to a question from one of our students. Let me try to find it again. She says, as a high schooler, I have only gotten a climate packet once in a while when I have a sub. Is that enough? And what is your timeline in order to adapt a newer and more extensive curriculum? Let's see, maybe Director Lockwood, would you like to?
Sure. I will ask President Haynes to help because we have the curriculum adoption cycle is something I'm not intimately familiar with. And so I know there is an ongoing process of adopting curriculum. There's one section of curriculum that I have been a participant in, and that's sexual health education. So I know how that works, but as far as like math and science, I can't share the exact schedule that we do that with, but that those subjects are reviewed on a regular schedule, I believe. And so those are the types of things that we could continue to address. I mean, as school board members, we help to bring to the administration, the central administration, from the community, the issues that are being talked about and cared about. So this is something I can bring back to the teaching and learning group. They are the folks that work on curriculum and say, hey, this is what we're hearing. I want to know what specific things, this is what the feedback I'm getting from students, and share that there has been hit and miss with curriculum around climate. And so I can share that and see where we are. And is there a way to make that more consistent and that every single student gets, if they're not, I mean, it sounds like they're not from what this one student said, but ask for where we are in terms of consistency. I can certainly do that.
Yes, thank you, Director Lockwood. I think we may end up coming back to this a little bit later, depending on where audience questions are. But I think for now, let's move on to discussing the second request that this petition is making, which is regarding the adding solar panels to school rooftops. Like I think our audience has heard that City Council President Beggs said that Spokane schools will be building schools that will have 10 acres of rooftop. And he also said that state law requires that all of these schools must have solar-ready roofs. And so then the question is, what is the school board doing to commit to actually putting solar on these new or renovated schools? President Haynes, do you want to take a shot at that?
Yeah, I'll take that one. It's funny that you said that. I actually messaged City Council President Breein Beggs about his comments on his video because I knew this question was coming and he took a lot of my shine on that question. But as he said, two years ago now, we entered into a partnership with the City of Spokane and Spokane Public Library System to bring about the largest bond that we've ever had in Spokane Public Schools to be able to build new schools, new libraries, and according to state law, right, we have to build them with the capabilities of having the opportunity to add solar panels to it. As a result of that partnership, we have continued to have those further discussions in partnership with the City of Spokane, Avista Utilities, and whoever else is interested in coming to the table to turning that dream into a reality and us being able to make that happen. A part of the solution for Spokane Public Schools, and I know a lot of people might not like this answer, but I'm going to say it, right? It's the money that we use for our energy bills and spending comes out of our general education fund. And so that's, if we can't get the benefits socially to match the benefits economically for us as a school district, it becomes drastically more difficult. And so those are some of the conversations that we're having right now. And we are committed to doing what is best for the longevity and sustainability of our school district and our students. And as soon as we can make that happen with putting solar panels on, I anticipate us doing so.
Okay, so what that sounds like is like it costs, do you think that it costs more for us to put on these solar panels than like not renovating and not putting on the solar panels? Is that what you were saying there?
Not it. From our studies, it costs a little more right now. Does that make sense? A lot of the benefits come from tax breaks and tax incentives, and us as a school district don't receive those right now if we were to do that. But like I said, we are trying to find solutions to those problems and work toward that. And right now, the proposal on the table, and it was actually City Council President Breann Beggs who mentioned it, that said that we're trying to get like a group rate or a group discount by engaging in that partnership with the City of Spokane and other entities around town, so that if we are operating on a much larger scale, would we be able to get lower rates for things like that?
Can I add a couple of things?
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
This is Nikki. Yeah, so I think one thing that President Beggs said was that, you know, the political will needs to be there. And so I believe it is now in the school district. And by trying to create a consortium of purchasers, right? So if we purchase a bunch with the city, then we get a discount for purchasing so many. And if we can find some grants to help with that, because that first cost it's a lot, you know. So if we can get some help and if we work together and bring the cost down, then it's more reasonable to our school budget. And then we will see the benefits from using the solar power, but we got to get past that first hurdle of the big cost of, you know, buying the solar panels. So right now it seems like it's a really good opportunity for the city and the school district to work together. And this is kind of a new partnership. I don't know if you remember, but in the last year, we've created some partnerships with the city. We've actually, I think, swapped some land where it's like, well, we're both benefiting and it's both a public benefit. So let's just swap land instead of selling it and buying it, you know, from each other or to each other. And so these things are new, and they really bring a lot of new opportunities, where before it was just seen as really expensive to buy solar panels. So, and as the costs keep coming down, as more people buy them, but then if we partner with the city, that again makes it more affordable for us, because, you know, the school district, we have a lot of costs. So I really look forward to this working, and we have a huge opportunity to you know, use solar power and bring down our costs. I look forward to that. And I hope we can be, you know, leaders and good community partners with the city in making this happen.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's great. Do you both believe that, like, by installing these solar panels eventually, and, you know, if you are able to get over that initial first cost, that in the long term it could save us money, and it could also just be better for the environment? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Awesome. Let's see, we have, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jamie.
We did have one question regarding the solar panels from the audience, and that was just, do you have any idea of what the timeline on some of those maybe bigger projects with like coordinating with the city and stuff looks like? Like, do you have any idea of when that could maybe happen?
Well, that's where it gets difficult. All timelines that previously existed due to our current situation and the crisis that we're going through, right now, makes everything much more difficult to predict timelines for it. So right now, we're experiencing huge devastation within our budget. And so being able to find the flexibility in order to make this happen makes it incredibly difficult. I know this year we're working on a new strategic plan that's going to direct a lot of the priorities within our school system. And I know sustainability is one of the main issues that's been floated around and discussed. And so that's being drawn into our strategic plan as we speak. But as a specific timeline, I don't have one to share. I don't know if Director Lockwood has any other information, but
no, I don't. I mean, we've started those discussions with the city, and that was pre-COVID-19. So, and some of those new schools aren't built yet. They're going to be built over the next 3-4 years. Is that right?
Well, over the next 6 years total.
6 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, but there have been some recent remodels that might potentially be ready to take on solar. So I don't know. I'm sorry. That's something we're not prepared to answer today, or I'm not.
Mainly because those conversations are in the very early stages. There's, as Director Lockwood said earlier, there's been a commitment to finding the solution and making it work, not only on the school district's side, but also the city and with Avista also. And so getting all those people together in the same room now virtually, right, has been relatively easy, and those conversations will continue to progress forward. But no, there's not a real timeline as of right now. But we would welcome any one of you who are interested in being a part of this process to please join in. We're always looking for student voice.
Another question regarding this from the audience. They say Washington Sustainable Schools Protocol, Washington State mandates a certain number of sustainable building improvements. How are these decided upon in our district? Solar panels might outweigh some of the improvements we're including, like water and light motion detection. Do either of you know anything about the Sustainable Schools Protocol?
Yeah, I mean, that's what Director Haynes and President Beggs both had mentioned. That's what they were referring to earlier. So that requires us to be ready to put on solar panels. I think up until now, the cost of solar panels was high enough that those other options for efficiency were being focused on around, climate control and energy use within the facility. I know that that's where we have been. And I will see if President Haynes has anything else to add to that.
Yeah, so because originally some of our earliest conversations around the time I was first on the school board, we actually had an engineer do an analysis of putting solar panels on our schools within our school district a few years ago. And at that point in time, then, right, technology has advanced since then. And so information needs to be updated. But then the sustainability part, it was way too spread out, right? It was too far to make it make sense putting solar panels on. So what we did as a school district was we created the priorities and we made the decisions to make our construction models more sustainable. So whether that's doing things through construction materials, making sure we're choosing the right materials when we're building new projects or remodeling buildings, making sure that even our furniture that we're putting inside the buildings nowadays, new furniture, they're certified green furniture, right? And so creating sustainable options through all of those different metrics, whether it's the windows we use, even the paint that we use, right? We have a commitment and a priority of ours to reduce our carbon footprint as much as possible. And that's something that we've been working on for a while, and we want to keep working towards that. So our goal ultimately is to be net zero, have net zero ready buildings, right, at all of our sites. And, you know, we're far from that goal, but we're definitely working towards it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of combine two of our audience questions into one. They're kind of the same. So, like, what can the citizens on this call do to help you build that that partnership with the city to build these schools and potentially provide funding for solar panels? And just another person said, like, Portland has already gotten teachers and students input on climate issues in schools. Would you commit to making a student committee to address these issues? Director Lockwood, would you like to try to answer that?
Sure. I think one thing that was already referred to, that to continue the engagement would be to participate in the strategic planning that Spokane Public Schools will start. We were going to start it, I think, even May or June. You know, it's just a few months period where we take input from the community as far as what they see as priorities for our school district. And it's focus groups and things like that. And there's lots of opportunities to engage online. And so we pushed that back because of the pandemic. And I think that will start in the fall. And we talked about moving that timeline just out of respect for people's, you know, people just dealing with unprecedented hardship at the moment. So when that happens, we take the priorities of the community and put that into our strategic planning. And so the more folks can be engaged in that and share their, you know, their priorities with the school district, I think that will help. So that's how you can help on the school district side. You can certainly always email all the school board members. You could always come to a school board meeting virtually now, and it's easier because you just have to do a Zoom call. We've had better participation since being closed down by the pandemic on our school board meetings because folks can join in that way. So you can always share those things with the school district. I do know that there are, I know Ferris has an environmental club. I just happened when I was visiting, I saw that on the wall. I don't know anything more than that. And you probably know more about that than I do, Rosie. But those types of clubs, you know, I could see them working together with the other schools. If the other schools have clubs at every level, you know, coming together and hosting another event or deciding on priorities that they want to, you know, continue to push at the school district level. Again, when you build power to take on an issue that you care about and bring it to the other powers that be, you know, that's always helpful. As far as the city goes, I do know that the city had I don't know if they still have it, but they had a community survey out about environmental issues, and they were taking input on that. So I would encourage, if that's still live, I would encourage folks to do that and engage with the city the ways that the city government allow, you know, their meetings and emails and you know, whatever you want to do there. You know, the partnerships that we have, they're meetings right now, and I'm not sure how to. President Haynes said that perhaps, you know, we could join that meeting. Then that would be something that we could look into. Absolutely, having some student voice on there. Those are a few initial thoughts, but certainly participate in strategic planning. I think that's a big area as we look to the future.
If I may, we also every year have 2 student advisors to the board that are chosen from our high schools here in Spokane Public Schools. That's something that any high school student could apply to be a part of every single year. And then also our superintendent has a student advisors group that she meets with. And there are no requirements to being on a part of that group other than a student of Spokane Public Schools, and where you get FaceTime and you get to talk to the superintendent of Spokane Public Schools about your concerns, the things that you want to focus on, and start helping to push and drive some of these decisions that are being made.
Okay, I think this is going back to something that we talked about a little bit earlier, but an audience member asks, we were talking about the net zero eventual goal for school buildings, and they said, what steps are you taking to reach that goal?
Okay, are you ready? All right, so we're working toward reaching that goal in a number of different areas. So site-based reductions. We're working to reduce heat islands through light-colored paving, shading, providing landscapes, and Energy Star roofing materials, light pollution reduction, stormwater and soil management. Through the water, we're looking at irrigation water use reduction, efficient designs, and system testing and training. Along with a number of other things. Certified lead-free piping is a big one. Material and waste, right? Construction waste management is huge. Making sure we utilize materials with recycled content when it's safe and applicable. Environmentally preferred products for major building systems, such as flooring and walls and insulation. Energy-wise, right, make sure we have occupancy-based HVAC controls to help reduce energy use and costs. Solar-ready buildings, right, we've been discussing that a lot. Enhanced building commissions to ensure buildings have been constructed to meet design intent and efficiency goals. Air quality-wise, make sure we have and indoor environmental quality, but make sure we have outdoor views, a lot of daylight lit classrooms, and operable windows, right? Not the windows that are forced to be closed all the time, but we can actually play with them, work with them. Enhanced ventilation, air filtration, low emitting, and a number of different things. So I know it's a lot, but.
I'm really glad that you answered that question and you had all those details. I did not have that level of detail. Thank you. I just want to add one thing about the students. Well, yeah, there's a lot. I see a lot of questions about, again, about student participation, and I am open to some kind of, asking at the school board level how we would have a student group related to that was district-wide. I'll ask about that. We have a lot of different student groups. Some report to the superintendent, and some, do we have any student groups that report? We have some boards, some committees that report to the school board, right, President Haynes? So we don't have any specific student groups that report to the board. And you are on mute.
You're on mute. Oh, you're on.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, no, we have different groups throughout the district that report to the school board. Any student-led group can report to the school board as well, but we haven't had that very often. I know we've had representatives from Shades of Me before, mm-hmm. And various clubs and groups throughout the district, but not any group that's scheduled to regularly come and give reports to the board. Okay. But we can.
Yeah, I can ask about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So you would commit to maybe trying to make like a student committee or something like that for this issue specifically, and yeah, would you commit to that?
Yeah, what I'm committing to seeing if we can, what the process is, asking about the process and saying there's interest in how do we start a student committee on sustainability, or I don't exactly know what you'd want to call it, what we would want to call it. But I will ask about that. and see how to get that going. Because it sounds like there's student groups at a lot of different schools that they aren't necessarily all convening together. So.
Yeah, I think that would be great because definitely a lot of the high schools have environmental clubs or groups, but I think having that full district connection would be really helpful for those groups, so that would be great. Okay, let's move on to the third request, and then again, we may come back a little more to these issues because we got into some good stuff there. But the third request is about the school buses, and especially some of the concerns about how diesel buses not only release tons of pollution into the air, but they're also, the diesel exhaust is bad for student health, which is obviously concerning to a lot of community members. And so the question would just be, would you ever consider transitioning to 100% electric school buses, and how would that process look? And yeah, so President Haynes, do you want to start with that?
Okay. Yeah, you asked a couple questions in one at the end just now. So first one is, would I ever commit to having 100% electronic school buses, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's the demand in the petition.
Yeah, me personally, yes, I would. I know that Washington State actually even has a policy or law that says that state agencies are supposed to begin working towards electric vehicle use and alternative fuel procurement. And you know that they have dates and deadlines for that to happen. So in terms of timeline, I think one, we'd have to start having conversations as an entire board and make that one of our priorities. If we were to move forward with it, then we would start having to have discussions with, because we currently outsource our school buses through a contractor named Durham, and they're a national level business. But if that's something that we decided to move forward with, we would either one, reopen the contract and allow other companies to bid on it to be able to fulfill those requirements, or two, give our current company the capabilities to phase in the actual operations side of being able to make that work. So, but yeah, as an individual, for sure, yeah, I would commit to that.
Yeah, Dr. Lockwood, would you commit to making these school buses 100% electric?
Well, just to clarify, my husband is Dr. Lockwood. I'm not a doctor. Director. All right. Thank you. Just didn't want to, take any questions that weren't that I couldn't handle. No, I also am completely supportive of a fully electric bus fleet. Personally, the school board is 5 members, so that's a different group. But I do. Again, that's a contract that we hold with a outside entity. So there's some work to be done there, as President Haynes outlined. We also, in our school district, have 117 vehicles that we own, for the different staff members to drive for whatever, they have different needs for transportation within the school day. So like we have a lot of deliveries for food and, paper products and all kinds of stuff. So there might be the opportunity there to slowly transition those to electric as well. Again, if we had some kind of, I don't know. So after the strategic planning, depending on what comes out of that, or even before, I don't know if, having some kind of sustainability policy, I don't know if that's something that school districts have. I don't know that we necessarily have that type of policy, but it sounds like the state is also mandating some improvements. Again, I'm a new school board member. I don't know the timelines on when we have to have those done, but it sounds like the sooner we start making those changes, if you adjust slowly, it's easier on the budget. So I support those changes.
And here's a question from the audience, and I'll sort of tack on something else as well. And they say, when can we expect to see this change with the school buses? And even if you don't have a concrete answer for that, I'd also just like to ask, like, what would be the next steps in slowly getting that to happen? Director Lockwood, do you have any ideas about that?
Well, I would actually, if President Haynes would start that conversation, because I don't know, I'm still learning processes, and it seems like things take a long time. So, but that's, you know, my new perspective as a new board member. So if you could start that conversation, President Haynes, you've been through these cycles a few more times, so I'd appreciate that.
Well, yeah, I guess the answer to this question would depend upon exactly which part of this process are we referring to when it comes to time, right? We can have the conversation publicly as a school board as early as next week, as long as we get it on the agenda in time. And that would be the first step, right? Is having that conversation to see if there's a majority, 3 out of 5 of the school board members interested in making these steps toward that direction. And if that's the case, then that would immediately trigger and start staff direction to start researching and figuring out the proper steps and protocols that would next be followed after that. You pair that along with us making this a priority within our strategic plan, you could see actual significant change toward that movement within this calendar year. Now, depending upon what the research shows, would determine a lot of how long it would take to actually implement the practice itself and get the electronic school buses, because you have to make sure you have the chargers available. You have to make sure you have mechanics available that can work on the vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, a concrete timeline isn't something that I could give right now.
One thing that was promising in what the City Council President Beggs said was that, you know, Vista's working on that infrastructure for more electric vehicles in our city. And so that would definitely be part of the timeline considerations as well. But that's promising, you know, that we're going to get there, and that it seems like our city is moving in the right direction.
So one question I have is, when is the Durham contract up for renegotiation, and like negotiation for these new electric buses? Do any of you have an idea about that?
Don't quote me on this, but I think the contract is due for renewal next year. I could be wrong, but I'll check.
You mean 2021?
Yes.
Okay. And are those usually in the summer? I know the teachers union contracts are usually a summer.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so glad he's on this call.
All right. And yeah, so Jaden, do you have any more questions on this particular demand, or do you think we should maybe head back to some previous ones that we didn't answer all the audience questions for?
Just had one more. The audience question was, can you commit as individual members of the board to bring these issues and demands to the agenda for future meetings as immediately as possible? And I think I'd like to add on to that question, is adding stuff to the agenda something that you do, or something that community members could somehow participate in?
Adding things to the agenda and practice-wise, during my time on the school board, has always been something that school board and staff members have added to the agenda to be discussed. Public, whether they reach out via phone calls or emails, have been able to drive us putting things on agendas, though. So, yeah, I definitely commit. I'll actually bring it up tonight during our school board member meeting to try to get it on this calendar as soon as possible, as long as the other board members agree at putting it on. So, but yeah, that's something that we can even discuss tonight.
I will agree to putting that on as well. I will certainly support that request. One thing that I would say is to keep an eye on the agenda, and hopefully I would be able to reach out to one of you. I have your emails as far as when that is on the agenda, because so before I became a school board member, I did a lot of education advocacy around school to prison pipeline, which was related to disability issues and racial equity. And so when I kept an eye on the school board agenda, and when the issues related to the issues I cared about were on the agenda, those of us would look at the topic and the issues, and sometimes we would comment on them. So if there's an agenda item and you get, you know, even 2 people, but if you get 20 people to speak to an issue, that shows a lot of energy around that issue. So it's important. And if you think about all the different student groups that there are related to, you know, environmental issues, then that's a lot of voices that could potentially join in. You usually get, the more people there are, you usually get 2 to 5 minutes to speak. So it just depends on how many show up. But that I always encourage participation. I, as a former education advocate, loved when I saw a bunch of people come together and speak to an issue. I just think it's great civic engagement that we need more of.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on the agendas. And yeah, if you're following Sunrise on social media, we'll post about any school board meetings that have climate or sustainability related issues coming up. So definitely look out for that. And then, yeah, Rosie, do you want to now go back to some of the previous questions?
Yeah, I think that one question that Will Hull asked about the first demand, the climate curriculum demand, is really great, and I'd like to see if any of you want to answer this. So the history of climate change is something that's never in fluctuation. How about literacy about big oil and historical global energy consumption? President Haynes, do you want to try to answer that question?
Yeah, sure. Hold on. I'm trying to find that exact question so I can read it. I'm sorry. It was you said Will?
Yeah, and it is in like the answered section, but we haven't answered it. Yeah. It might be for my screen, it's the first one that's popping up. So.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. The history of climate change is something that is never in fluctuation. How about literacy about big oil and historical global energy consumption? That's actually a really good question. I know that some of our history classes should be able to cover some of that, especially when you're talking about historical global energy consumption or big oil. I don't know if that is something that would be addressed in most of our science classes. I could definitely see the correlation in some, but yeah, I don't know specifically. I could definitely check on that though.
I think that student, if they're a student, I don't know, that person raises a really good point about the history not changing. So it's certainly something we could bring up.
Yeah, I think our civics class, right, covers some of that. Have any of you had civics yet?
Yeah, I'm currently taking AP US government and politics. So yeah. And Jaden, are you in a civics class right now?
I'll be taking it next year, so I'm not sure about it. But yeah, definitely, I think even just like I took U.S. history last year, and there's definitely more ways that it could be incorporated into that history.
Yeah.
So that would be definitely a good place. I think it would be really important and really helpful to sort of have some of this climate literacy happening outside of just science classes with discussions happening in social studies and English classes as well, when it's appropriate. So.
Yeah, I saw the comment earlier about it could be diffused into different areas of study. My daughter, I have two daughters. One just graduated from Lewis and Clark last year. And then I have another daughter who just walked in, who goes to the community school, and they have project-based learning. And so, this type of issue is something that certainly could be seen from a lot of different, social studies and so historical and science, and then you could certainly bring in the writing and the English aspect as well, at least in terms of the work and reports. So there's a lot of opportunity. Yeah. Again, if we have some kind of sustainability or environmental student group, that could live there, and that generation of ideas of where to include these topics could really come from that area. But I like all the ideas coming today, so I appreciate it all.
Yeah, I just happened to, I'm still looking at Will's question, and I see there's a bunch of comments under it now. So I know at Lewis and Clark specifically, my understanding is that it was covered a little bit in marketing and the entrepreneurship and legal studies class. I don't know to what depth or anything like that, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jane. Yeah, that's great to hear. So it sounds like you two will both be committed to, talking to other school board members, trying to set like maybe a specific climate change, like climate change youth activist group or something like that. And so then this group could work with you, so you can hear from the youth and base some of your decisions off of what they are saying. And yeah, I think that would be really beneficial for our schools if you both tried to set that committee up. Yeah. And I think, Jaden, did you have something to say? Sorry, I kind of cut you off. But
I was just gonna move on to another question if we were.
Okay. I think one question that I saw earlier was, oh my gosh, it's hard to find. Jaden, go ahead. I'm gonna try to find it first. Sorry.
Yeah. So Rebecca asked, would you support Spokane School District 81 adopting Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency's No Idle Zone program district-wide, as Cheney School District has done? Do either of you know anything about that policy?
I don't. So yeah, I don't know if you could explain it a little more, or they just.
I haven't heard about it, so I will not be able to.
Yeah, I wonder if that's related to school buses or families that come, and some families they come like 20 minutes or sooner. I don't know. I'm never somebody that shows up that early to pick up my child, but they show up really early and just.
Yeah, Rebecca, if you want to explain what that policy is, I'd be happy to read it out. But yeah,
I think she's actually able to talk now. So Rebecca, if you want to unmute yourself and then ask, that'd be great. Yeah, I think she can.
Well, my high level understanding of it is essentially asking that people don't do any unnecessary idling in certain zones throughout the city, right? And if so, that on the surface level, that sounds like something that I'd be in favor of. I think the difficulty comes when determining what's necessary or unnecessary idling whenever riding in a vehicle, right? The weather, I think, can play a big factor in that. If it's cold outside and people need to keep the vehicle heated or something like that, I don't know. But that's definitely something that I'm willing to look into.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, boom, there we go. Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
took me a minute. Yes. So Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency has a program that schools can opt into. I tried to do it at Hamlin Elementary several years ago. They supply 2 road signs, and they supply information and handouts about idling and the dangers of car exhaust and things like that that teachers can use in the classroom. And it's been really hard for schools to get the signs installed because then it becomes a city street issue. So there's sort of a hodgepodge of schools that have elected to join the program, but then there's often a problem of getting the signs installed. And from what I've seen, the schools that are on the edges of town that have their own parking lots are able to install the signs, but the more urban schools that have only street parking can't get those signs installed. So Cheney School District just adopted the program district-wide, so there's no penalty for idling, but these signs are posted at the school that you should not idle your car right where kindergartners are walking on the sidewalk to keep for air, to keep the air healthier for the kids. So the school district could maybe help get those signs actually installed at all the schools, so it's not about which schools have the most engaged parents or PTAs or things, but just all kids.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry, Jaden.
I was just going to say thank you, Rebecca, and yeah, direct it to you, President Haynes, if you want to.
Yeah, that's definitely, well, yeah, thanks, Rebecca, for bringing that up, and especially the issues with being able to get the signs posted and your last point around us taking it on as a more district-wide initiative so that all students can be positively impacted by this instead of just the students that attend schools whose parents may be more present or available to partake in this program. I think, yeah, that's, again, I'm actually typing down notes as this meeting is going on for things to bring up. I think that's another thing that I'd be more than happy to bring up to our other school board members and to our district administration level. And then, of course, our city partners so that we can start figuring out ways to get those signs put up in our more urban located schools. So.
Yeah, that's great. Director Lockwood, do you have anything to add to that, or should we?
I would just echo, yeah, President Haynes' comments. Absolutely.
Great. So one question that I saw earlier was from Fauna, and she said, we know that our food system is a major factor in climate change, and is there currently any plan to add more plant-based meal options to the school breakfast and lunch menus? And do either of you know how food waste in our public schools is currently dealt with? And yeah, Director Lockwood, would you like to start on that one?
Sure. I will just say that as far as my educational background, I'm a registered dietitian, and so I care a lot about food issues. I worked more on the clinical as parts of that profession. There are some that work in school, school food service management. I worked with folks in the hospital who were like undergoing disease issues, but it's an issue I care about. I do know that, I don't know what our specific plate waste is right now. I don't know how we address that. You mean, I don't know if you mean like if we compost or that type of thing. I do know that there has been a big change at the grade school level just over the last few years where students are going out to recess first and then coming in for lunch. And so instead of like trying to scarf down lunch as quickly as possible so you can get outside and play with your friends, they have, the 20 minutes or so for recess defined, and then they come in and have that 20 minutes, I can't remember what it is, but a very defined amount of time to eat lunch. And they're seeing that the kids are actually eating better and eating more of their lunches. And so that part I know has been an improvement. And when my kids were really little, one of their friends was really pushing for a recess first model. So it's taken time. You know, that girl that did that, she's now in her second year of college. But so these things take time, but we're seeing an improvement for, and also the kids have a little bit of time with their teacher while they're eating lunch to just talk about how things are going. So just overall, it's been a real benefit to the schools. I don't know how we are in terms of plant-based food options. I know that school lunches are a lot healthier now than they were when I was in school, possibly even when Director Haynes or President Haynes was in school. I haven't gotten a report from the food service director, who's very busy creating the grab-and-go lunches that we're currently handing out during the pandemic issue right now. But I'm certainly willing to look into that. I know that there were some guidances from the Department of Education and DeVos to allow a little more sodium back into the diet. Like they kind of walked back some of the improvements that had been made. I was ready to speak on it as a school board candidate, but I never got the questions. But in a few smaller servings of fruits and vegetables, I don't support those, changes. I think more fruits and vegetables, they're important for keeping bodies healthy and ready to learn. So I'm willing to ask about where we are with plant-based, I'm assuming plant-based proteins, but plant-based just options at breakfast and lunch. Yeah, I mean, I think things like chili and lentil soup would be really wholesome and good things. I don't know how often we have soups for lunch, but I think things like that are really economical and really good for you. So as a couple of examples. So I'm certainly willing to ask about that.
All right. And President Haynes, do you have anything to add on to that?
No, Director Lockwood, she did a really good job answering that question for sure. And I'm just to say, I don't say it often, but I myself am vegan, so very much plant-based and very much a big fan of plant-based diets. So I'm all on.
Nice. Awesome.
I think we have time for maybe one, maybe two more questions. So Tony asked, students might not connect environmental changes happening around Spokane to climate change, such as the wildfires. Of course, we know that's a big one. So he's asking, how could that be implemented in classrooms more when discussions come up about climate change?
I will ask about that. I'm not myself an educator, but I do see that these, wildfires and even, the pandemic, how do we bring those up in those science-based discussions? I'll certainly ask about that to the professional educators on our staff, but I'll see if President Haynes has anything to add to that.
Well, as far as I know human impacts on the climate and climate change in and of itself should be addressed within our biology classes at the high school level. And of course, obviously, because they're taught by different teachers at different locations with different students, the depth of that probably varies by school site. I think that between that, I know at LC, some of the effects of climate change was discussed in seminar classes before. And I think that is now becoming like a few people already posted within the questions section, about it being, much more than, science and should be taught in other classes. It's becoming a lot more of a current events, U.S. history topic as well. So I could definitely see it being implemented and covered throughout multiple classes at different levels throughout our school system. I know the last time we've updated curriculum to a point to where, you know, these options are added into our science and history classes was really early or late summer, early fall of just last year. So I think that we're continuing to work in the right direction toward making sure we cover all of the bases.
And one thing I hope that we bring up is, I mean, you've heard the reports all over the world where, you know, where there was a lot of smog. They're seeing clear skies for the first time with this economic shutdown. Certainly economic devastation is not a good thing, but you can also see the impacts of changing our patterns, you know, in real time. And so hopefully we can take note of that and see what we can do to sustain that. You know, one thing I think about too, just in addition to buses, is how many students drive themselves to school alone at the higher levels, you know, in high school. Because I know that the parking around LC is pretty packed. So, I mean, my daughter did that. She had a pretty environmentally friendly car, and she loaded in like she carpooled with other kids, picked up about 3 other kids. But, you know, those individual drivers are also something, you know, kids carpool.
All right, so it is getting near the time where we need to start wrapping up. So we would like to ask if you all have any final comments that you'd like to make, and yeah, just anything that you want to say to everybody listening to hear.
I'll let you go last. You have the last word, President Haynes. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to, you know, host this event. I think it's really great that you're doing it virtually, you know, as an alternative to what we couldn't do together as a group. I think I would have joined either way. So I appreciate listening to all the questions and concerns and the issues that were brought up. I will take back to the board and bring those up. In the meantime, I did see a few other people were sharing resources via email of ways to participate. So I will certainly get that to you, as well as, you know, because there's other committees happening in our school district. You know, you are the future, you're the future leaders. And so I think that you need to be equipped to make the decisions then, you know, that are going to be important, but we need to make the decisions now that we should be making. So I, you know, commit to that as well, because climate change is happening soon. So, and you can always email me at nikkilockwood@spokaneschools.org and do what I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lockwood. President Haynes, do you have some final words as well?
Yeah, well, Director Lockwood did a great job. So, but I just appreciate being invited to participate in you all's event today. This is the first time that I've been a panelist at this kind of event and taking live questions. So it was interesting and fun, and we have a lot to discuss, obviously, as a school district and as an entire community as a whole. If anyone would like to reach me, you can reach me at Jarrell Haynes at SpokaneSchools.org, or follow me on Facebook at Jarrell Haynes. I'm going to try to do a better job of posting on my Facebook page. I'm not the biggest social media person, but I would do better, I promise. But if anyone, I saw a lot of questions. You all even asked the question about how people can get more involved at the district level. Please feel free to reach out to either one of us or any of our board members, and we'll get you connected with who you need to be connected with. And if you're finding trouble along the way, like Director Lockwood said earlier, we'll do our best to create our own district level committee where we'll allow all of your voices to be heard, and so that you can start impacting big time decisions that affect each and every one of you at the school level. So again, just thank you all for allowing me to participate today. It was fun, I appreciate it, and I learned a lot.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so with that, we'd like to give a final thank you to our 2 awesome school board members, yeah, I see a lot of comments in the chat saying thank you. So thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And yeah, sounds good. We'll move on to our final little bit of this live stream. Thank you again.
Yeah, so definitely, yeah, again, if you're following Sunrise is social media, we'll definitely be posting about these opportunities as they come up to get involved with the school board and being more involved in the school district. So that'll definitely be coming your way. Yeah, so as we're wrapping up here, we'd like to thank 350 again for making this event possible. Every donation helps, and donations to the general fund help 350 Spokane respond to changing circumstances to meet their most urgent needs. This may include paying for office rent and supplies, advertising events, purchasing or renting necessary equipment, paying for taxes, fees, and licenses. In short, all the board-approved expenses for meeting their mission. Consider making your donation monthly. This provides 350 with stability and security to carry on with their vital work. Thank you, 350, for all the work you do. Today's event would not have been possible without your support.
And we'd also like to share some action steps that every one of you can take. So the first one would be to our petition calling for the school board to enact these demands. And you can go to that link to find that petition. It will also be shared in the chat box, so you can go there. And
yeah, so also if you are a student or a young adult, we would love for you to get involved with our Sunrise Spokane group directly. You can get added to our mailing list where we send out information about upcoming meetings, events, and actions by going to our website at sunrisespokane.org and clicking on Actions Network page under the About tab.
Yes, and finally, we would encourage all of you to watch our local live streams and the national live stream for the next 2 days, so the 23rd and the 24th. Tomorrow's local live stream will be hosted by Fossil Free Gonzaga. It'll be focused around divestment, and it'll be from 4 to 5 p.m. Also, the 24th will be hosted by the League of Women Voters along with 350 Spokane, and it'll be focused around voting and also be from 4 to 5 p.m. So be sure to tune in for those. They'll be so awesome. And also the national live streams will also be happening for the 23rd and 24th. We hope to, through Earth Day Live, to move millions of people from being passive supporters to active allies in the fight for climate, social, and economic justice, and also have more awareness around the climate crisis and connect with people from all over the globe, as well as provide a platform that amplifies our message and the messages of local and frontline communities. Also, the 24th, we really want to push voting, especially for young people, and really try to get our youth voter turnout up in November. All right, so I think with that, oh yes, today is also the national live stream that will start at 3 p.m., so very soon. And for that, you can go to earthdaylive2020.org. And with that, I think today's live stream has come to an end. So we want to thank you all so much for being here to celebrate the 50th year anniversary today and to call for climate action to be taken locally. We hope that your families stay healthy. And again, thank you so much for being here. We hope you enjoyed this virtual event, and happy Earth Day. Thanks, everyone.